anyways, I am back. Give me a second here. I'm just getting set up. It's a little early. It's 10:30, which is a little bit early. Well, I shouldn't say early. But I do sort of want to talk at the beginning about sort of what happened over the last couple days, mainly Friday, with the 30th anniversary presentation from Pokémon. We will be watching the trailer for Wind and Waves. I have some thoughts on Wind and Waves as a whole. Some positive, some negative, obviously. So give me a minute to grab a couple things from behind me, and we will chat about that sort of stuff. Oh, I don't. Right, yes. Yes. I do want to preface that I have seen the trailer for it. I have seen the trailer actually a couple of times. And I am also just going to pull up the website as well here, because there's some things regarding Wind and Waves that need to be discussed, shall we say. Overall, there are some things that I'm excited for with Pokemon this year. And I am probably going to end up rebuying Pokemon ZA just because of the DLC. I don't know how it's going to work if well, I might end up rebuying it. I probably won't. I'll just probably use the physical and then buy the DLC digitally, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited, obviously, for the... Well, I haven't played any of the DLC yet because I want to work through the main story first, which you'll see a little bit of that in the stream that's coming out today, which I did on Friday. I was going to stream last night, being the 28th. Yeah, 28th of February. But I was just so tired last night to the point where I'm like, I'm going to bed early. And I did. I think it was like 11:30 or so. So, yeah. So the next stream will probably be tomorrow, Monday night, probably. Yeah, so what did I think of the presentation overall? Like I said, there's a few things that I'm excited for. I'm excited for Pokepedia, sort of their take on like the Animal Crossing genre, shall we say. I'm interested to see how that works. It is expensive. It's about 112, probably 113 with tax, so that's kind of holding me up at the moment. It actually comes out this week, actually. It comes out, I think it comes out the 5th of March, I think it is. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, I think it's like 5th of... yes, 5th of March. And like I said, it is about just over $100. I was originally going to buy it physically, but unfortunately they've decided to go down the keycard route, which I don't really want to do. So I'm just like, screw it, I'll buy it, end up digitally. Um, like I said, there's some stuff that's coming for this that has kind of interested me. So that's kind of interesting. All the Pokemon Masters and Champion stuff that's coming later this year, that's kind of interesting. And you might be wondering, oh, when is the next Pokemon game coming out? So that's Wind and Waves, and it's coming out next year. We don't know when next year. So 2027. I guess we can talk about it from the website and then watch the trailer. Boop. Let's just zoom this in so then we can see everything. Coming to Switch 2. Where is it here? The new Pokemon Presents revealed an exciting new trailer for Wind and Waves, which has been, or which was part of the whole leaks and stuff like that over the last little bit. With so it was leaked that it was going to be Wind and Waves alongside Gale of Darkness being on Switch Online through the expansion, and the Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green sort of re-release, shall we say, for Switch and Switch 2. But this is kind of an annoying part. Video game series developed by Game Freak exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2. That part here that I've highlighted is, I haven't really seen a lot of I've seen some reaction online about it being an exclusive. Some positive, some negative, mostly negative, unfortunately. But the good thing is, so here's all the 3 starters. So grass, fire, water. Depending on which version you play. So this is wind. This is waves, I believe. Yeah, that's right. So this is wave, this is wind. So the 2 characters, shall we say, for both male and female for both games. Like I said, it is coming out in 2027. So really, I actually have the last, I guess technically last 2 Switch games that have come out. So we have I don't have the Switch 1 version of ZA. I have a Switch 2 version because I have a Switch 2. There you go. But ZA, I believe, is going to be the last dual release, meaning Switch 1 gets a release and Switch 2 gets a release. Everything after that is, from what I can see, is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. And that is kind of predictable. I wasn't forecasting any of that. I wasn't seeing any of that happening. I was thinking that maybe Wind and Waves might get a physical version, or at least somewhat of a, I hate to use the word downgrade, but a bit of a downgraded version. Like, for example, when Call of Duty Black Ops 3, for example, released on PS3, 360, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 versions only had multiplayer and zombies. That was it. So it's basically technically a bit of a downgrade there, where everything else, so Xbox One, PS4, and PC, had the campaign. And I was thinking something like that for Wind and Waves, maybe something like a bit of a step back in terms of graphics, but they have just said nope, it's completely exclusive. So if you want to play Wind and Waves, you have to have a Switch 2. And from one hand, I can understand why they want to do that. Because the Switch 2 is a lot more powerful than the Switch 1. And I can even somewhat tell the difference in some of the games that I even play. But I was surprised that Wind and Waves was exclusive with reading that article from the website. It's a little bit surprising, but also not at the same time. And you might be wondering, when's it come out? 2027, which is, for me, actually a good thing, because I don't really have the budget at this point. And so by the time next year rolls around, we'll see what happens with me and work, and sort of where I'm at the time. Yeah, so I'm actually happy that's coming out next year, because I was thinking, oh great, I have a bunch of Pokemon ZA to finish, and its DLC to finish by October. Right? By October. That's not that long. And with me potentially working again, trying to do content as much as I can, it's going to be a nightmare. So I'm kind of glad that they're pushing it back a year, because if I remember correctly, with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I have Violet actually, the release of it originally was not good. A lot of bugs, a lot of issues, basically from the technical side, shall we say, because the Switch 1 was decent, like very decent, and even the OLED was a bit of an upgrade from the Switch 1. I never had an original Switch 1, I only had the OLED, so... And you might be wondering then, why did you upgrade if you had the OLED? I knew there were some games coming for Switch 2 that were exclusive, and I thought, you know what, I have the budget. If I can get the budget together decently quickly, I'll do it if I have the chance. And unfortunately, I did have to trade off a lot of hardware, which I knew was a possibility, but I wasn't really thinking that it was going to be a possibility. I knew that there was a chance that it was going to be super, super expensive, which it is. And just to put into perspective, the Switch 2, which for me had the Mario Kart bundle. So mine was the Mario Kart bundle. So mine included World, which we might play at some point next week, actually. I need to play that again. I haven't really played much of it. And it was like over $700. Right? Like, once I found that out online, I'm thinking, okay, how can I scrape together that $700 plus budget, shall we say, right? Because I was working, not a lot at that time. I was getting a few shifts here and there just because at that point it was still very slow. Um, but luckily enough, I had the budget together. Um, give me one sec here. Sorry about that. Like I was saying, like I knew that there was a possibility if I could get the budget together for the Switch 2, I would do it. And I knew after seeing the price online and everything and doing the whole math and everything, I'm thinking, okay, there is a lot of hardware that I'll have to let go. And unfortunately, that was the Switch OLED, which was the Tears of the Kingdom edition. My PS4, which I had at that time for almost 5 years. I bought brand new in 2020. I enjoyed it, but again, there was some stuff on PS5 that I wanted to play, which I did end up actually getting a PS5 like a month later, which was not the plan, but hey, budgets worked out. But for the Switch 2, like I knew that there was some stuff that I could let go. Obviously, the Switch Tears of the Kingdom was the big one. The PS4, I let go actually most of my PS4 collection that I had at the time, except for a few games here and there. And I let go of like a somewhat of a decent-ish chunk of my Switch collection, which doesn't look like it, but I did let go of some games from that collection behind me. And you might be wondering, like, why did you trade off the games? Some of the games, depending on their trade-in value, I was looking for games that had a trade-in value of like $20 or more, basically. And so, ironically, the trade, which was well over $400, actually took most of the cost, actually, for the Switch 2 for me, which was quite nice. I was hoping for like a 50-50 split between the trade and what I had to put on top. And I still ended up putting over $300 on top of the trade, which, yeah, it wasn't bad, but I would have preferred it to be a little less. But hey, but like I said, I had the budget, so. And like I said, so I bought it. So if I look up... there we go. So it came out. When did it come out? I need the darn wiki. Here it is. So it came out June 5th of last year. And I didn't get it until June 24th. So, what's that? So, 24 minus 5. Yeah, 19 days. I bought it literally 19 days after release. And I was very, very happy I was able to get a hold of one as quickly as I did. I could have saved some and not have gone with the Mario Kart bundle, but I kind of wanted to go with that bundle because I knew at some point I wanted to play Mario Kart World and I didn't really want to spend the $100+ that game costs. So I was like, you know what, if I have the budget and if it's available, I'll jump on the Mario Kart bundle, which obviously I did. So I'm super happy about doing it that way. But yeah, a little bit surprised, like I said, that Wind and Waves, like I said, is a Switch 2 exclusive. I was thinking it could potentially have a Switch 1 version, but I can kind of see why they're not doing it and focusing everything on Switch 2 because of the hardware improvements. And I've recently jumped back to Pokemon Violet for some stuff just in spare time, and I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see why um, I upgraded. But anyways, like I said, let's watch the trailer. I think I'm alright. Actually, I'll put myself up in this corner. Actually, so I'll leave the link down below. So this is the first look, Wind and Waves announcement trailer. There we go. There we go. Oh, I also need to make sure that this is, yes it is. So this is going through every region. So X and Y, and obviously now there's Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, and now Wind and Waves. Oh, Pikachu. And oh, a little bit loud. That's a little bit loud. There we go. It definitely looks good. It definitely looks sort of like a mix of Arceus and new Pokemon Snap in terms of graphics. Hey, yay! Finally, not just flat water textures. Looks like they gave Pikachu a new battle animation, I'm guessing. Wingull, Swamp, Duskull. So this is open world. The 3 new starters, so a bird, a dog, fire dog, and a lizard. Oh, gecko in this case. I'm probably thinking maybe, I don't know which one I'll go with. I do know which version. Yes, there is the legendary right there. Some sort of dragon type of thing. Probably a legendary or something. And this is something else. Like, they didn't actually show us the legendaries, which typically they have. But in this case, they didn't. So it looks like you could probably go underwater. I'm not 100% sure, obviously. Nobody is yet until we get hands-on with it. And here's the winds, waves. Like I said, I'm probably going waves. Probably. I might get both if I have the budget around that time. Global simultaneous release in 2027. Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else I can. Yeah. So. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for this. Okay. So what do I think of it? It looks very, very good, first off. way major improvements compared to ZA and even um, Sword and Shield, Arceus, all that sort of stuff. Um, like I said at the beginning, I'm happy that it is coming out in 2027. It gives me a little bit more time and wiggle room to finish ZA, potentially start playing Pokepedia at some point within the next couple of weeks or so. In terms of Pokepedia, I won't finish ZA as quickly as I would like to, but I will be playing Pokepedia at some point when I have the budget. Which version am I going to go with? I'm probably going to go with Waves. I might later go with Wind if I need to. Do sort of like a dual release sort of thing, like where I try to finish off Waves, let's say, and then go back and do Wind. It all really depends on budgets and sort of when they come out. And the other thing too is, are they going to be a physical release, meaning, right, cartridges in the console. Like, will they be on cartridge, like the copy of Violet? Or are they going to go down the route like they did with Pokepedia and do it as a key card? If they do it as a key card, I'll probably buy digital, right? But if they do it as a proper cartridge, like what they did with Scarlet and Violet, and basically most of all the Switch games, except for Pokepedia, like I said, then I might end up going physical. I like I said, I don't know when it comes out. Nobody knows when it's out. I'm kind of hoping it's out early next year, like January, sort of around maybe around this time next year. I would hate for it to be late 2027. But yeah. How do I feel about it being a Switch 2 exclusive? Because that's right now a big sticking point from what I've seen online. It's not great, shall we say, because they have basically forced everybody who still has a Switch 1 that is a Pokemon fan that wants to play Wind and Waves to upgrade. And not everybody might be able to get a hold of Switch 2s. There is, from what I've seen, that like the supply of them right now, like the stock in like stores and stuff, is actually better than what it was on release. And so, yeah, there's that. But the other sticking point with that is the price tag that the Switch 2s are priced at. Like, their price is a little bit high. Like, we're talking minimum $630, actually over $630 for a Switch 2 without Mario Kart, or $700 for either the Mario Kart or the ZA version, which basically means you get a card, and it's a download, which I actually have one of those, actually. Give me a sec. So, this is the Fortnite Darkfire and Ice bundle. So, basically what you'll get in the console um, is a piece of paper like this with the code on it. And don't worry, this code has been used. I have used it. And that's it, basically. You don't get a box. And this box, unfortunately, came via Amazon. And it wasn't nicely packed. And unfortunately, it cracked during shipping. So the whole bottom is basically destroyed. Unfortunately, I don't have any spare cases of Switch 2s. I have tons of cases of Switch 1s. This is actually a replacement case. So it's the original artwork that I had, or that I had on the original, but it's just a new case. So all the paperwork is, or lack thereof, because how I had my Switch games originally wasn't stacked like this. It was a different setup, and unfortunately is ripping the plastic and making it very, very um, difficult to get out. So yeah, will I buy any um, Pokemon boosters and stuff this year? Um, I am. I am. I am. What's the right word? I am looking. But I have to see sort of the prices and stuff, which I'm looking at right now, and they're actually pretty somewhat um, reasonable. Like packs, um, the Japanese pack here from this is just from EB Games, which is the Mega Evolution Inferno X, is like $5.99 per pack. So unfortunately, I cannot buy proper like boxes from EB Games. I can from I think Play Asia has them, which is where I buy a lot of my imports from. So I might look at doing some of that sort of stuff later this year. Uh, um, um, yeah. So, like I said, if I jump to where's my cursor? There's my cursor. So we're just right now um, on the PlayAsia website, and you can see that I have stuff like saved and in my cart because I'm looking at stuff from these guys right now. So this is Pokemon Pokepedia, and it says here game key cart. If we zoom in, if we touch this game key, so will I buy it physically? And it's showing $116. I am not spending that much on this game. In reality, that $116, well, let's say $117, is actually not um, fully accurate because there's going to be taxes, there's going to be shipping, there's going to be a lot more cost. So if we go to Nintendo here, and we go to, give me a second here, here we are, there you go, yeah. So this is what it's actually going to be, $99.99 Canadian. The other one was Canadian as well, but that also included, that also didn't include tax or shipping or anything. So, and since it's a key card, I'm not really inclined to get a physical copy of it. If it was a proper physical cartridge like ZA or Violet or any of the other games I have behind me, I would be more inclined. But since it's a key card, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'll probably, like I said, pick it up digitally. But will I be picking up Wind and Waves? Like I said, it's hard for me to tell at this point. We've only seen that trailer, but it is unfortunate, shall we say, for those who have not upgraded to a Switch 2 to find out that they won't be able to play the new Pokemon game next year unless they upgrade. Because the prices are still stupidly high. Like I said, like like over $600 Canadian for a Switch 2 without Mario Kart or ZA, over 700 with. And I was very lucky when I bought mine that I was working first off, and I had hardware that I was willing to trade to bring the price down. Which, like I said, I didn't really want to do because I like to keep older hardware just for certain situations. But I knew that if I was going to do a Switch 2, I had to unfortunately let that hardware go, including the games. Like I said, I don't have many PS4 games anymore. I have what? I have 5 PS4 games and 1 PS3 game still. I have all of the different versions of Last of Us, from PS3 to PS5. So the ones that I have on PS4 are Last of Us Remastered, Last of Us Part 2, um, Immortals Phoenix Rising, which I do have, I think, a PS5 version digitally. I can't remember if I actually do or not. I have to double check, which let me double check that right now. I know I have the DLC for it. So, yeah, I do have the DLC for it. It doesn't say that. Okay, so it says I own a. Okay, I guess they're going via the physical, I guess, because it does have an upgrade. But I don't think I own a proper PS5 version because it's still super expensive. Concrete Genie is another one, and BB and Tina at the Horse Farm. The reasons why I kept those games back is they didn't really trade in for much, maybe $5 to $10 at most. I think the 2 Last of Us games were like 15 a piece, so I'm like, there's no real point for me to keep those or trade those off. I'll keep them. So yeah, so there might be some Pokepedia probably middle of March, maybe. We'll see. So, anyways, adios.